Welcome to the world of Arthur Schopenhauer, a man who viewed life as naturally painful and human desire as a kind of captivity and held deeply critical, controversial views about women. Let us break down his brutally honest, deeply controversial, and unapologetically cynical philosophy on men and women. 1. Women are weaker by nature. Schopenhauer did not soften his opinions. He said that women are weaker than men in physical strength, intellectual depth, and moral reasoning. According to him, women were not suited for abstract or complex thinking. Instead, he believed their focus was limited to practical concerns like caregiving and survival, rather than philosophical or scientific exploration. He also claimed that women were guided more by emotion than by logic. In his perspective, their role in society was secondary, centered largely on reproduction. While he acknowledged their charm, he dismissed it as shallow, suggesting their beauty served as a kind of illusion that could entrap men. He once described women as remaining childlike throughout life, focused only on what is immediate and mistaking appearances for reality. 2. Women's role, domestic and reproductive. Schopenhauer extended these views into what he believed women's place in society should be. He claimed that their primary biological function was to bear children and that this defined their purpose. Because of this, he rejected the idea that women should participate in intellectual or political life. He saw such spaces as belonging exclusively to men and believed women's involvement would diminish their quality. In his view, women were best suited to the home, where obedience and domestic responsibility aligned with what he saw as the natural order. 3. Love, an illusion driven by nature. Schopenhauer also took a bleak view of love. Rather than seeing it as meaningful or spiritual, he argued that love is simply a biological mechanism aimed at reproduction. In his framework, men are misled by this illusion. They pursue relationships, marriage, and companionship, only to end up sacrificing their independence and well-being. He viewed marriage not as a sacred partnership but as a trap set by nature, an arrangement where men give up freedom, wealth, and peace of mind in exchange for something that ultimately deceives them. Those who fall into this, he believed, are likely to regret it. 4. Women are masters of manipulation. In the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer, women were not only seen as weaker than men but also as highly strategic in how they navigated the world. He argued that, lacking men's physical strength and intellectual depth, women developed other forms of power, particularly emotional awareness, charm, and subtle cunning. According to him, women relied less on logic and more on emotional influence. He believed their beauty and ability to appeal to feelings gave them a unique advantage over men. Rather than valuing men for their character or intellect, he claimed women were primarily concerned with what men could offer, such as protection, resources, and social standing. In his view, women's survival depended on their skill in influencing and directing male desire. 5. A pessimistic view of relationships. Schopenhauer's ideas present human relationships in a rather grim light. He saw men as the visible builders of society, figures in science, war, architecture, and philosophy, while women operated behind the scenes. He argued that women's influence was indirect, rooted in persuasion rather than overt action. Through attraction and emotional appeal, he believed they could shape the decisions of men, even those in positions of power. In this sense, he viewed women as social strategists who used psychological influence to achieve their goals. Though controversial, this perspective offers a lens, albeit a harsh one, for examining themes of power, attraction, and control in human interaction. 6. Men are architects of civilization. Schopenhauer held men in much higher regard, describing them as the rational and disciplined drivers of progress. In his view, men were responsible for advancing civilization through their contributions to science, art, politics, and innovation. He saw men as guided by logic and capable of shaping the world through deliberate action and intellectual effort. From building empires to achieving scientific discoveries, he believed men were the primary force behind humanity's development. However, despite this admiration, he did not consider men flawless. He argued that even their greatest strengths were compromised by a fundamental weakness, their susceptibility to desire. In the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer, desire is both a driving force and a profound weakness. It can push men toward ambition and achievement, yet at the same time expose them to deep vulnerability, especially in their pursuit of women. 7. Desire, strength and weakness combined. Schopenhauer saw desire as a paradox. While it fuels men's pursuit of success and power, it also ties them to more instinctive urges that can override reason. He believed that no matter how intelligent or accomplished a man might be, he remains susceptible to emotional and sexual impulses. In his view, men's greatest limitation was not a lack of intellect or ability but their attraction to women. This pull, he argued, often leads men to make sacrifices that undermine their own well-being. 8. The tragedy of men. Schopenhauer suggested that men frequently become controlled by their desires. Even those capable of great achievements could lose clarity and independence when driven by romantic or physical attraction. He believed men often give up their wealth, peace of mind, and autonomy in pursuit of relationships, only to end up dissatisfied or trapped. Marriage, to him, represented the clearest example of this pattern. Rather than a meaningful or sacred bond, he viewed it as a commitment rooted in biological instinct rather than genuine fulfillment. Men, he argued, willingly enter into it, sacrificing freedom and stability for something that ultimately brings regret. From this perspective, men appear almost like participants in a game they cannot win, drawn in by the illusion of love, only to face cycles of longing, frustration, and disappointment. Schopenhauer regarded such men with a sense of pity, seeing them as misled by nature itself. 9. The ideal man, freedom through detachment. Given this bleak outlook, Schopenhauer's solution was radical: withdraw from worldly desires altogether. He believed the highest form of man was one who distances himself from distractions like romance, wealth, and social recognition. Instead, this ideal man would focus on intellectual growth, reflection, and solitude. He pointed to figures such as Gautama Buddha and the thinkers of Stoicism as examples of this path, individuals who sought liberation by overcoming desire. For Schopenhauer, true success did not lie in worldly achievement but in self-mastery. The man who frees himself from desire and embraces contemplation, he argued, is the one who ultimately escapes suffering and gains genuine freedom.